I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired for my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Brisk.
Slightly chilly.
Caldo Wednesday. No better day to get caldo than today because it is cold and caldo will warm your cockles.
It's like the stars have aligned. The caldo is great, period.
Yes.
But on a cold day when you can go in, and
it's almost in the name, caldo. Almost there.
Sort of. Canadian Spanish. But if you think about it, a chili is almost too heavy for lunch.
Yes.
Or laxatively.
Better for breakfast.
Well, like on eggs.
I just made Cody sick.
Chili and eggs. I like chili and eggs. But I can't imagine having a big bowl of chili at lunch because it's just so heavy. Whereas the bowl of caldo,
you can lighten it up by adding some mac and cheese, and then it becomes chili mac and cheese.
There's my brother-in-law, David Ballard. I tell you what I like to do. I like to take. I do serranos with a lot of food.
Yep.
But I like to take fresh jalapenos and put them into my caldo. And man, heat. Hello, Carter Castaneda. Good morning, buddy. Stephen. I like to put the peppers in there, and it's almost like the hot caldo kind of steams them. And man, it makes, I don't know why, somebody knows, I guess it's the oil and the seeds, but heat makes a jalapeno hotter.
And it's not the seeds that have the heat. That's the mistake.
What is it?
It's that the membrane of that flesh.
Is that right?
Yeah. So when people cut out the seeds, they usually cut that out, and that's why there's no heat, but they mistakenly think it's the seeds.
You start talking about hot membrane flesh, I got like a little tingle.
That's the other channel.
7 o'clock in the morning. Tune in on Sirius XM to hear uncut, uncensored.
Sirius XM 69.
Can you imagine uncut, uncensored Wade and Carter?
Get over to Veracruz today for Caldo Wednesday. Meanwhile, stop into Deerland Feed. They bring us our weather every single morning, and we're so grateful for folks at AT Deerland Hay Feed and Ranch.
Hey, Scott Tomko says his chickens are taking a couple of days off. I got 7 eggs yesterday out of 8 birds. I think they've gotten the bluff that I might lop a head off. 32 degrees in Victoria. It feels like 13. Now, I was not that cold outside today. Were you, Cody?
It was pretty cool.
A little chilly.
Yeah. Okay.
Says the guy wearing
I've
a
still got
puppy
a coat
jacket and another layer underneath that, and then 2
camo.
shirts. Yeah.
32 degrees, heading to a high today of only 44.
Yeah, it's going to be chilly. Next few days are
folks,
better.
I mean this with love because I'm approaching that age. If you are one of our more elderly folks, stay inside today. I mean, the truth is, unless it's something you need from HEB, just be smart.
At least the roads are dry.
I think that you hear people all the time, oh, he went outside with a wet head and he caught pneummonia. That's a wives' tale.
Yeah. Cold does not cause you to get sick. Germs cause you to get sick.
That's right. And for those of you, I told Ash this morning, I sense, and I've seen actually in some of the analytics, a surge in listenership. And we appreciate it. We do. And I think it's worth reminding those of you that have been here a long time. I see Mark Kurtz, Ricky King, Kendra Douglas.
Those are the top 3 on the podium this morning.
Greg Garcia, David Glass, Amanda King, Rena Shear, Patrick Strauss, Lisa Poole, Cepeda, Mark Cepeda, Micah Patton, Linda Chris, Bobby Leister, Sherry Jacobs, Will Vincent, Judge Posey, good morning, sir. Tammy Keeling, Andrew Alvarez, Linda Chris, Sarah Elkins, on and on. Scott Tomko, Justin Glass. These are folks that
Tammy
have been
Williams.
here for years. For years they've listened. And for those of you that are new, especially our listeners on Magic 95.9 FM, I want to make you feel good about
Morning, Jarrett.
listening through the periods where you don't agree with us. It's okay to disagree. It's okay.
It's okay to be wrong.
Well, and I was going to go a step further and say, just because we're over here espousing an opinion doesn't mean that we're right. And if it makes you more affirmative in your own stances, that's okay. I told Ash, if I have a choice to listen exclusively for a day to Fox or to CNN, believe it or not, I'm going to listen to CNN. 99 times out of 100, listening to CNN helps me hone and refine why I believe what I believe. If I listen to Fox, it's like being
Echo
a
chamber.
deacon at a Baptist church. Amen. 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 Harumph. Harumph. It's easy to agree, even though the guy at Fox might be a little more right than me. And I'm like, I can see his point. I can see his point. I'd rather listen to CNN and find out that I don't agree with that guy. So, we've had some controversies here and there, and I revel in that because it means you're thinking. And I told Ash, I said, I don't want to I want to push that envelope, push it, but I don't really want to run anybody off. And Ash said, you can't. They can't not listen. So I know you leftists are out there. I know Mike Gomez. I know you're listening. And we love you for listening, even though you don't really have the chutzpah.
They think we're like a train wreck. And for some reason, in this community anyway, you and I have been stigmatized with people thinking that we're going to say something that's just absolutely
well, that's how they are. They're snarky and sarcastic. Yeah. They're rude.
Well, there's nothing wrong with snarky and sarcasm, but it's the fact that they think we're just going to blatantly say something absolutely stupid to get kicked off the air. They're waiting for that moment.
We're not ever going to get kicked
so they
off
can all
the
go,
air.
I told you so.
Do not hide and wait for us to get kicked off the air. Have you heard some of the stupidity that's on the air? We ain't going nowhere. But I pointed out to Ash this morning, for those of you that are listening fairly new and you're like, what's happening? I mean, who are these guys? I'll tell you this. We were absolutely right about COVID. We were absolutely right about the source of COVID and what was not the source of bat stew BS. We were absolutely right that the masks don't work. We were absolutely right that this arbitrary 6-foot distance was not based on science in any form, and it was more just common sense. But the fact that the government prescribed it and people put stickers on the floor was pure lunacy. We were right that the vaccines...
It was so they could laugh at people to see just how far the government could push them into
That's all it was a
demands.
social experiment. Yep. We were absolutely right about the efficacy of the vaccines.
And even if you didn't want to adhere to 6 feet, the people around you wanted you to adhere to
I had a close friend, a friend that I grew up in church with. He was older than me. He was between me and my dad. Came up to me, silliest thing ever, came up to me at HEB, got this close and confronted me about, where's your mask? He's got his mask. I said, what? Where's your mask? I said, well, I don't need one. You've got one. Well, you should think about other people. And now, 4 years later, I'll see him at HEB and he's kind of like, hi, because he realizes he was a goofball.
Well, the mask didn't work.
Mask wasn't doing anything.
Elderly and those with
We were right about Joe Biden. We were right about Joe Biden long before anybody else in the Main Street media said, hey, man, I think there's a chance Joe Biden doesn't run for re-election. Joe was out there going, we're going to finish the job. We're going to finish the job. And Ash and I were going, no, you're not. Your job is done, you demented old goat. And we knew it long. Yeah. Were we right? Long before he ever did that debate.
You were right about who was going to step in and run. I was not. I was not convinced it was going to be Kamala Harris. You were?
In my mind, in my memory, that was a team decision. But I knew that there was no way even though they knew she couldn't win, there was no way the Democrats could pass on a woman of color.
And here's how you know they
You
knew,
can be the first black female president married to a fat, bald, white guy. No way. And I knew
Well,
she
you forgot
couldn't
he's
win.
misogynistic and might be racist.
And has occasionally punched a woman. But other than that, yeah. We were right.
And they knew she wasn't going to win, but they got the media to capitulate and push these lies that, oh, the polls have them neck and neck. The polls have them neck and neck. And the polls absolutely had them nowhere close to neck and neck.
Adam, thank you for noticing that I am fairly spicy today. I'll admit it.
No, I think he means you're actually looking like you're very hot, like
overdressed.
That's what he means.
It feels like 13 in here. The office is at 205. We're doing our part. All the lights are LED, and we just don't have heat. I mean, that's just the way it is.
So you think?
Well, we don't need heat. No. I'm joking. It's a beautiful building.
You think this is going to be?
We're right about Fauci.
The point where leftists and maybe celebrities start to go, yeah, you know what? We need to start deporting these illegals.
Tell me the story.
Federal prosecutors charging 7 men for their alleged roles in a string of burglaries at the homes of prominent professional athletes. These are the guys accused of, remember when Patrick Mahomes' house was broken into?
Yes, while he's at a ball game.
Travis Kelce's house was broken into.
Same thing.
Recently, Milwaukee Bucks forward Bobby Portis had a safe and jewelry stolen from his house. And this was back in November. Well, they've arrested and charged 7 men, federal prosecutors have. Ages 20 to 38, all of them from Chile.
Send them back.
All members of a South American theft group that are accused of stealing more than $2 million in valuables could face up to 10 years in prison. I don't want them in prison in this country.
No, I want to send them
Get
home.
them the hell out of here, or you know what? Guantanamo. Send them there.
Yeah.
That's where they need to go. That's where all these idiots who are breaking the law to get here illegally and then doing crap like this.
And do waterboard experiments on them.
Yeah. 3 of the men have also been charged by a federal grand jury in Cincinnati in connection with the burglary of Joe Burrow's home, the Bengals quarterback.
Neuter and spay your Chileans. I mean, come on.
I mean, the FBI had to issue a warning to sports leagues about making sure your home is secure when you're leaving town to go play games because these guys are robbing it.
It's so tragic. It's a well orchestrated, intelligent play if you think about it.
Yeah. No, time for them to go.
Somebody tries to rob my house while I'm playing radio. T-Lap dropped that 9mm on him.
Well, that's the point. And supposedly these are all in, I mean, I can't imagine. I know most of these guys probably live in gated communities. That just tells you how good the gates are.
I knock before I go in my house after dark.
I don't blame you. Hey, I got to give a shout out to the city. Yesterday had some issues with the sewer not working properly, and they were notified late in the afternoon that it was their issue and not the issue with the home and on homeowner property. So they had to take care of it. By 5:30, big sewer vacuum truck was there, backhoe. They had it all marked off where they were going to dig. They're still at it this morning, all night.
Good
they were
for
out
them.
there.
Hats off to the city of Victoria. You know, the
That's
other day,
responsive.
I had told you, and I didn't mention it on the air because we try to be part of the solution and not just somebody pointing out the problems. I had not reached out to the city. We've joked here for a long time. It's not an original comment, but we've joked for a long time that the city fills its potholes with oatmeal so that when it rains, the oatmeal washes back out and the pothole comes back. I had noticed.
And when it rains and it's hot, then the homeless have something to eat.
Partly because of some cut, sliced membrane tissue on the side of one of Dawn's $300 tires and a slight blemish on her rim.
Oh, no.
I had noticed that the potholes had become quite problematic on Glasgow Street. And I had said, that's it. When I found the tire, I said, that's it. I'm either going to call the city or I'll just give them a shout out on the show and they'll get out there and fix it. Well, I didn't either. And they fixed it the next day. But there were literally half a dozen. I mean, your tire goes into the hole and the city fixed it. It's really a problem. See, the day is coming where depending on how you have it situated, to the south or to the west, you have Millette Drive. They need to widen it. They need to do something. Schalemer Elementary is a problem from 3 until 4:30. And they need to do something there.
Kids would walk to school.
But the other problem is, amen. Amen. The other problem is if you shut that down, then you can't shut down Glasgow, and Glasgow needs to be shut down and repaved. And you've got 2 streets like this, and all the cross streets will have nowhere to go for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. But if they were good government union jobs, people could stay at home and work.
And pave the streets from home.
Pave the streets. I was listening to this guy, Mike Slater. I recommend him. It's on the Patriot channel on Sirius. And this morning he said the humanization of federal workers makes you want to err on the side of undercutting. But the Republican,
well, this is where the Democrats are. This is their ploy, because remember when Joe Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline, and what was his advice to those?
You guys are smart. Go get another job. Repurpose yourselves.
Go get training, learn a trade.
You were in the petrochemical business. It's going away. Everything's going to be electric by 2035. Go get another job. But when you do it with the government, which, by the way, Joe Biden used government jobs to pad his jobs report every month. Well, he wanted to hire whatever it was, 80,000 IRS people. Those are good paying union American jobs.
And didn't they give themselves the money to do it? They just never hired them all?
Correct. But Slater says, err on the side of overcutting and then hire them back. The time has come to overcut. We're in a bind. I listened to some audio the other day, and you know who was a huge proponent? We need to go line by line and evaluate the necessity of each one of these departments. You know who said that?
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, folks. Barack Obama, America's liberal, said, are you kidding me? The federal government is out of control.
Barack Obama deported more illegal aliens than any other president
Barack
in
Obama
history.
Built the detention cells at the borders.
Now
they're
cages.
Called
they
cages. They're
in?
called Trump's cages. And they were, according to Trump haters, they were designed to separate families.
Which was another Biden-era policy.
What they really did is they took the little minor children, boys and girls, and kept them away from the pedophiles and idiots coming in from Guatemala, Honduras. And
remember when we had the Border Patrol agents on?
Yes.
Kelly Fromme, by the way, is going to come in next week and talk about the upcoming Victoria 100 Club.
Are we speaking
annual,
at that?
Probably not.
We weren't invited.
But the speakers are always great, and that's where we've learned so much.
Yeah.
And remember when the Border Patrol agents came in and basically told us, yeah, we've done DNA tests, and the sampling shows that about 80% of the kids that we DNA test are not related to those who say
in
that their
any way,
parents
not even
bringing
distantly.
them across the border.
Yeah.
There's no relation.
No relation.
No, they're kidnapping these kids.
They're just using them. They're just using them to look like, to appear as a family.
That's all they're doing.
And the women, once they get across the border, you'll find their bra hanging in the tree because they were gang raped by the gangsters and then sent off into servitude.
Or to death.
Yeah.
Lots going on with DOGE. Federal judge yesterday turned down a request from a group of state attorneys general to block the department from accessing data.
It's just going to gain momentum. As Americans start to see all the savings And the left is whining and crying and lying. When Elon Musk is running the government, we didn't vote for him. You didn't vote for Trump either. So just shut up and wait for the results.
Yeah, that's true. Half the country complaining didn't vote for Trump. So
That's right.
He's running the government.
And they're saying now that people are they're protesting. Of course, they're peaceful protests. Somebody had a hangnail. They all had to go home. I'm glad that our country's security isn't left to the left. I'm glad these right-wing people are joining our military. Military applications are up. People interested in joining the military again, since you don't have men in skirts heading up the military. I love that they were concerned about RFK Jr. and you had that Rachel Levine was the predecessor.
DOGE apparently finding $4.7 trillion in payments from the Treasury that they are having troubles tracing because they all have a missing account identification code.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
$4.7 trillion. Somebody either programmed the system not to include that code,
Correct.
or
Here's
just
the deal.
didn't bother including the code.
It doesn't mean in any form that $4.7 trillion was siphoned off, let's say, to the military or whatever. It doesn't mean that. What it does mean is that when you take money from the Treasury and you send it to the Department of Defense, there's a place on the ledger to put DOD or DOJ or FBI or NASA. They have
Or
4.7
lunch,
trillion
discretionary spending.
They have 4.
Travel.
They're called Treasury access symbols. And they've got 4.7 trillion, which is a lot of money, people.
And that field was optional.
And they have no idea where that money went. So
That
they
field
can't
should
account for it.
never be optional.
No, it should be mandatory. You should know where it went. That's a billion. That's as much as we spent in Afghanistan.
And as of Saturday, this is now a required field, according to
Here's something that's interesting that we
The
haven't
federal
touched
government.
on. Did you know that USAID, when created by Kennedy in the 60s, was actually, good morning, Uncle Norm says it's 13 degrees in Frisco. I love Norm Burgess, period, but I love the fact that he brings value. He brings in the Frisco and the Dallas Metroplex weather report when he shows up, and I like it.
don't live so close to Canada. It won't be
Right?
so cold.
Oh, Canada. I got one for you. We'll get to that in a minute. Speaking of Frisco, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's, before we go though,
Okay.
I was going to tell you something. We were talking about,
DOGE,
yeah.
accounting.
Oh, did you know that when USAID was created in the 60s by Kennedy, that one of its main benefits was it was a way for the government to funnel money to CIA covert activities? You would have, and you've seen this in movies, a lot of times the cinema mirrors life. You've got the volunteers.
Accounts on the screen are purely fictional and do not resemble any actual people
Right.
or places. Or
But you've got the volunteers who are with USAID, and they've got tents set up in Africa, and they're there to hand out food and water while they show the locals how to drill water wells. That's their purpose. But what you don't know is that of the 10 people there, 6 are CIA operatives, and they're training the locals on how to keep their eyes and ears open to know about communist activities. This
That's
is
worked out
true.
well. China's infiltrated the whole.
It's not
continent.
under dispute. It's true. That's what part of USAID was all about. Now you flash forward, and I don't know how we do. Does the Treasury access symbol need to say COV to denote covert operations? Is the DOGE going to uncover the source? You know, George H.W. Bush traded arms for hostages, this kind of stuff. Do you want to know where every dime
that code
goes?
was Ollie North.
Right. And
That was the
Oliver
code.
North, true American hero, God bless him. Do you really want to know everything.
Probably not
And
everything.
can you know everything?
No.
There you go.
But this one I found interesting. You'll want to know
No,
this
we're
one.
going to take a break.
Okay.
See, I'm going to rain on your comment. Went services, folks. Today's a great day. If the grid were to fail, are you going to be warm? Went for all. You show them that again. You're a little hockey moment. Went for all your generator needs. Let Went help you stay and beat the cold. The chopping block.
Hanger steaks still on sale. Go get them.
Fantastic. They've got stuff. They have tomahawk steaks, usually $24 a pound. They're done in $19.95.
Wacky Wing Wednesday today. I like the garlic parm.
They have
So good.
a Daytona wing that's a cross
Ooh.
between a buffalo and a barbecue, and it's really good.
Little spicy, but not too spicy. If you're not a fan of buffalo, it's because they're too spicy. Get the Daytona.
Brand us on a Wednesday. That's all he gets. Brand us. Check him out on Facebook. It's Commander Cody's
He
company.
just said he didn't need that much.
He says, you're too kind. You shouldn't do that for me. Ads and Offer and adsandoffer.com since 1926. There are 2 brand new Corvettes on the front of the lot and a pre-owned red vet over there that's just gorgeous. Go by and look at the vets, and then, of course, go buy
what you can afford.
Yeah, buy what you can afford. White Trash Services, White Trash Site Services, making your property beautiful, whether it's hauling off your rubbish or helping you get rid of that unsightly barn that's worn out. Reach out to White Trash Site Services. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Get out to Palace and have a blast.
They've been around for 28 years now.
Cheap entertainment. Support local charities because in the long run, you're not going to win. So get to Palace and have a good time. It's like that deal where you put the quarters in and the little thing scrapes them and like you put $9 in and all of a sudden you win 75 cents. You're like, I won. Palace Bingo, get by. Chesnick Furniture. Chesnick and Love make your house a home.
You just always do better. Chesnick,
They're
stop
the
on
best
by.
people, too. Go by and see Bobby Leon. That's what I like. Ads and Offer, you want to talk to Tommy Taylor, talk to him. Brand us, you want to talk to the Commander, talk direct. White Trash Services, you want to talk to the Nelsons, ask for them. Awesome folks, awesome accessibility. Parvita Wellness, go in and talk to Erica Briggs about your dietary needs. She can help you get in and get healthy.
She'll set you up with a meal plan, prep it for you. They do all the cooking. That's the best part. All you got to do is heat it up.
So before you get to that, let's jump to this because I want to hit them. I'm like,
I don't know
boom.
where you're going.
Fast, hard-hitting stuff. I've got some numbers for you guys. And Uncle Norm will know this because he's right there in Frisco. If you're in the Dallas Metroplex, you start going north. Frisco, Prosper, Salina. You're kind of on your way to Sherman Denison. But you're
Wait. Let's back up and stop in Salina for a second.
Salina. Okay, so let me give you some numbers. Salina has 5,478 students in their schools. They have one high school, and I don't know how many junior highs or whatever, but that's what they've got, 5,500 students. I remember these numbers because they just hit me right in the face. Salina has decided, hey, man, the Metroplex is growing towards us.
They had a bond task force that approved this.
$2.29 billion bond just passed. $650 million to build a new high school, $250 million to build a new junior high, anywhere from $65 to $95 million each to build 7 elementary schools, 5,400 students, $125 million to renovate and upgrade their existing high school, another $20 million in property improvements. They threw something in the bond to give the teachers a little more money, and their attitude literally is, if we build it, they will come. They're coming this way. So when you, and I'm not saying that you're wrong to complain about your taxes, they are hopeful, this is a quote, that in 5 years, they will have between 13,700 and 15,000 students in their schools.
Because the demographer told them so.
And if they don't build it now, they won't be ready. And if they wait until they need it, the number will be higher. $2.29 billion. And we've got what? 2 schools that we owe $144 million on? We ought to just write a check and pay it off.
Yeah.
We have the 13,700 students. Norm says they're coming by the thousands. Torrin Bale says Plano did it 40 years ago and it worked.
Here's
and
the
you're
problem.
right,
40
Torrin,
years
I
ago,
remember.
it would have worked and did work. But here's the problem. Colleges are facing what they call an enrollment cliff because the number of kids coming out of high school is on the verge of dropping drastically, which means there'll be less people in high school. And just listen to this garbage. Bond committee member Ben Hangartner told the Star local media up there.
Cox toasted. Hangartner.
He bought into the Kool-Aid, drank the Kool-Aid, bought into the plan.
It may be a good plan. There may be, but how are you going to pay $2.29 billion?
30 people move to Salina every day. That's the equivalent. Salina.
Come on, Canadian.
Sorry. That's the equivalent to one classroom in Salina ISD.
But they're
30
the
people.
Adults aren't going.
30 people, not 30 kids every day.
10 kids, maybe 8 kids.
No kids. What if they all decide to not have? Yeah.
How do you say the word MEXIA?
Mahia.
Now, if you live up there, it's Mahair.
Okay.
But I'm with you.
Norm Burgess, high taxes.
Yeah,
and that's
unbelievable taxes.
And that's
right?
what one lady said. Our taxes have quadrupled in the last few years. Now they want to do this to us.
Oh, and I read a deal. It's pitting neighbors against neighbors.
Yeah.
There was a guy on one of the comments goes, "Well, buy, move."
$632 million to build a high school. What the hell is this? The Taj Mahal?
I can't even imagine. That's a lot of cinder blocks. I want you to think about the fact that, I realize times change, but we built 2 high schools and a junior high for a fifth of that.
Yeah.
Come on. Now, granted, they were inadequate from day one, but that's not the point.
Well, and that's what they'll come back. You watch. If the voters pass this bond, they'll come back within a short time and this was inadequate.
I guarantee you the $2.29 billion will turn into $3 billion by the time they're all built.
No, they'll have to make a bunch of cuts.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
they'll want, because they won't be able to do all they want to do.
True story. That's what we did here. We had to make cuts. But I just thought it gives you perspective. Salina is nowhere near as big a town as Victoria. They are optimistic / fearful that their school district will be the size of ours in 5 years, to the point that they're spending $2.3 billion to prepare. You know how many little houses you can buy, RVs you can buy for that?
Where are all these people coming from? I mean, if we're kicking out all the illegals and that's what's flocking into this country and raising our population.
That's amazing. That's an amazing number. Now, I'll tell you what it's doing right now. It's getting them a lot of publicity. Yeah, Norm's correct. Up in North Texas, it's unbelievable some of the football stadiums that they're building. I love it. I didn't think we needed that here. We needed a new stadium. We didn't need the $60 million stadiums. Oh, Commander's, he's breathing.
Allen High School up in the Dallas area has one of the most expensive stadiums in the country.
I think it was $60 million.
It was $60 million. Cy-Fairs is the most expensive in Texas, and it was $121 million. But it also has a full basketball court and can seat 11,000 people.
Now, one thing about Cy-Fair is a district. You've got Cy Creek, Cy Falls, Cy-Fair. You've got a whole bunch of Cy schools, and they all play there. So I can see that, but I can't, if you even tried to discuss $100 million stadium with the voters of Victoria, I'll tell you something else we were right about that's kind of sad. We've been right about every bond floated since the first one back at Magic when we had a banner hanging behind us. And we hung ourselves out there supporting the bond, and we lost. And we've been right about every bond since.
Yep.
We've also been right that don't run for office in this community without coming to see Wade and Carter because you just simply won't win. True story. True story. You got to spend some time in the box. If you don't, you're out.
$2.3 billion.
Yeah,
With
Tammy,
a B.
That's what we said. The stadiums are shared by multiple high schools, and I can see that. And here's the deal. When you've got Cy Creek playing Cy Falls, same thing with the Klein School District. And it's worth noting these are affluent areas. The Cy Fair District being out 290 in Northwest Houston and Klein being up closer towards the Woodlands. They're affluent, prominent neighborhoods, and the idea that you've got Victoria High versus Stroman or East versus West every night. So it makes sense to have 11,000 seats in Houston. But, we just need a stadium maybe that would hold, I don't know, what would the idea of you build a football stadium here? 6,000?
I think what we've got is probably,
How many do we have?
I think it's closer to 10.
Will it hold 10?
Seats? I think so.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Adam, very good question. I'll get to that in a second. There's another DOGE thing that I wanted to point out that really
Resonated.
kind of almost shocked me. We paid we taxpayers, because that's who's paying this, not the government. Good morning, Melissa Hanson.
Good morning.
$9 million was paid to Reuters. Reuters is the other news conglomerate that's supposed to provide balanced, objective coverage. According to DOGE and what they found, listen to what it was tagged for.
Oh, yeah, this is interesting. We're looking at the invoice. It's not altered. It was released by DOGE. This is the invoice. What does it say in the bottom right? Like the memo. Here's why this was.
Active social engineering, defense, and large-scale social deception.
Think about that. That's
propaganda, folks.
The money was paid to them for propaganda purposes. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And I don't, in the same breath that I have no problem cutting, I'm not so certain that if I squint just a little that I have a problem with the government giving money to news outlets. Because they're important. The free press is important, but you need to give them that without any strings attached, and we know that's not possible.
I don't think we need to give it to them at all.
Okay. And
no longer free.
You can, I agree.
As we've learned in Washington and other places, there's always expectations that come with any dollars.
Tammy calls that growth in those districts white flight, which of course I
think she's referring to the people that have left Victoria.
That's
flat to declining.
That's just racist, but it's accurate. Isn't that something? Something can be racist and not necessarily be anything more than observant. It doesn't have to be negative.
Doesn't even mean it's racist. It's just
white flight insinuates that all the white people are leaving.
Well, you can't be racist against white people. It just doesn't happen.
Oh, that's right. Because we can't be victims because we're white. Yeah,
correct.
That's right. Thank you. I every now and then I lose my way. And I believe that racism, whether reverse or otherwise, is still racism. And then I realize that because
the definitions changed, because it used to be anything that was brought about by simply race was racism. But
no, not if you're white, because you deserve it because you're white.
Adam Sugar asked, are we worried about all the cuts, lost jobs, reduced spending, thus reduced money printing, leading to deflation? Yeah, it's a significant concern. I don't know that it will ever get to deflation. I don't know that we'll ever get to 1% to 2% inflation again.
You mean like so deflation would be like where prices tumble?
Yes. I'm not sure that even if we got to 2% inflation, I don't think prices are ever going. It'll be interesting to see if egg prices ever go down if the supply ever gets back to where it was. Oh, Tammy was talking about Frisco. Okay.
Back in the 80s, yeah. That white flight, for sure, yeah. Well, you didn't say that, Tim. You just put white flight. You could have put life flight. And you go, I was talking about a car crash back in the 80s. You have to tell us what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not a mind reader. Certainly not your mind.
Well, the demographics of Victoria have shifted in the last 30 years.
I just got a meme from our buddy Ben Ballinger, who listens out in California, and he said, the 50 caliber handgun for when there's a burglar behind the refrigerator at your neighbor's house. I like that.
Absolutely.
Says it also doubles as a flamethrower. Love it.
Linda Chris says the government layoffs and California fire refugees are going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Did you see where State Farm asked for an emergency rate increase, claiming they'd already paid out over $1 billion? Because, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They show up and they want to pass that on to us here in Texas.
Wait a second. Isn't that the whole point of insurance? They were supposed to be saving that money and doing that?
Yeah, but they don't do that.
No. You're not going to hear this, folks. And I've talked about this. The wildfires in California are going to be blamed on the climate. They're going to be blamed on poor brush management and forestry management, which was part of it. But nobody's going to talk about the policies, the building codes, the zoning that allowed for homes to be built this close together, so that when one caught fire, they all went up in flames.
Price of land is so expensive that developers have maximized that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm with you on that.
Take another break, then we'll come back with our First State Bank Astros update because it's interesting, folks.
Jordan Glass says, I was a little late this morning. Did I miss the
Stir
apology
the pot.
for the
Stir
dead tree?
the pot.
We did post a beautiful
Red card.
red cardinal, but he was sitting on a dead tree, and Jordan said it was disrespectful to flora and the forestry industry. Do you want to take another break?
Take a break.
Dollar a holler. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Let Allen be your go-to tow-to. You got a problem on the side of the road, you got a big rig that's in the ditch, call Allen's, 578-6300. The Dollar Floor Store, tell them, Ash.
Yep, they are the floor trader. Get by, blowing out everything to make room for new material, but it's way cheaper than any big box store. Texas-owned company. Local people.
Great folks.
Yep.
Super nice
Go
people.
see Tamara. She'll tell you. Just tell you. Listen, if you go in there, I know Junior's been in there and bought a bunch of stuff. So
absolutely,
he says they had better
Junior,
stuff than what he found at the box store when he was trying to find it.
That's
so
what I say. Junior shops around for the best deal and the best quality.
Yeah.
So you can feel comfortable going to Dollar Floor Store. And then USA Concrete Coating, our buddy Charlie Garcia, the singing cowboy. He and his brothers will come out and put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat that won't crack, stick, peel, or fade. It'll last forever. It's good. It's good.
Does he sing while he does it?
He can do it. I've heard him sing at Cabo Wabo.
Awesome.
It's super, super duper. It's hard as nails. It's going to be terrific. You're going to love it. Just wait. It's going to be great. USA Concrete Coating, 578 home.
That's the one.
The First State Bank of Louise Astros Minute.
Tammy asked a question. She thinks the cost, the price of land purchase drove up that bond. No, land acquisition in this bond, $260 million of $2.3 billion.
So not even 10%.
Not even 10%.
No, yeah,
Or
not
right
even.
at 10%, somewhere in there.
That's not
Whatever.
bad. I wish I could build a house and only have the lot be 10%. Doesn't work that way.
This according to the 19 items in the bond package. I don't know. Here's the other thing in this thing too. They've got an elementary school they think is, because it's nearing its 25th year of operation, it's pretty much at the end of its lifespan. Here's the problem, folks.
We're
Building schools. St. Joe's buildings have been around forever. 100 years?
Yeah, 100 years. Smith Elementary's been around 70. Maybe.
So
yeah,
Smith probably raised.
close. Well, you build them out of bricks and steel, and they'll last.
Should.
Should.
Here's the other thing in this thing, too. They've got an elementary school that's 25 years. That's all we expect these buildings to last anymore? Wow, it's been around for 25 years, so we got to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, think about it from an educational standpoint. The kids that were in that school would be 20. The very first year are only 25 years old.
Or
They're
30.
they're barely graduating high school.
Let him go. He's rolling. They went to school straight out of the womb.
Yes, some of them did.
Well, it's the smartest kid in the nursery.
Well, that's because they built the best schools at that time and
Right.
to
Kids could
encourage
just
early
go.
learning.
Just, in fact, you could actually have your child in a classroom.
I meant to say they're 25 years
Bring
later
that
out of
kid back to
school.
me when it can read.
Yeah.
Make sure it acts right.
Bring that kid back to me to teach me math.
What do you make of this lineup? First State Bank of Louise Astros minute. What if I told you leading off and playing left field, Jose Altuve, batting second? Who was it? Batting third, Yordan Alvarez. Batting fourth, Christian Walker. Batting fifth, Jeremy Pena.
Oh, our new third baseman was batting second.
Isaac Paredes batting second. I like that a lot because Altuve batting is never a problem. So Altuve, Paredes, the big man Yordan, then you've got Christian Walker. He'll protect him, and that's going to be a great, great combo you watch. And then after him, you have
The bottom third of the lineup is problematic.
but who else am I missing? First, second. Oh, Jeremy Pena. And then you've got, no. Fifth is Mauricio Dubon, who's now playing second base. Sixth is Jeremy Pena. And then throw him in, you go Meyer, McCormick, and somebody else.
Yeah.
There's your 9.
And don't forget,
Astros are going to be solid.
Dubon played really, really. Yeah, and I think we forgot Yanner Diaz, catcher.
That's
but
right.
Dubon played a really, really good second base when Altuve was hurt coming out of the World Baseball Classic a few years ago. I mean, he hit over 300. His numbers were really good, and he was an upgrade defensively. That's probably, if you watch every day, maybe you start to notice it. But if you don't know that Altuve's defensive play has really dropped off in the last couple of years.
Yeah, Altuve will make every now and then he'll make an error that in my mind, it's almost like he's got ADHD because it's his flair for the dramatic, his ability to dive behind the bag at second, come up to his knees and throw a runner out is almost unparalleled. And yet sometimes he'll need to take one step to the right, square up and receive a ball, and he'll let it go off his shin. And you're like, what was that? And you'll see him, he'll punch his glove. He'll always say, that's on me, that's on me. He'll look at Pena like, I don't know what happened. You're a Hall of Famer. The guy's a 3-time batting champion, a 9-time All-Star. Jose Altuve is arguably a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He won't be because of his connection to Astrogate, but by the second ballot, he's in the Hall of Fame and should be. Yeah. Patrick Strauss says, St. Joe's about the education, not about the brick and mortar. You know, they can be about the education. They got plenty of money per kid. They don't have to deal with any special needs kids, and they also don't have to deal with any troublemakers. I could focus on education, too, if I didn't have to babysit the turds and take care of the special ed kids.
Tammy Keeling says the Reuters contract was DOD for cybersecurity during the first Trump administration, not paid for propaganda.
Well, except that's not what the memo on the invoice says.
But here, and in the contract, and this is Thomson Reuters being defensive of the contract.
Sean Britt with a solid point. There's a guard building at West High School. I know what you're talking about. You take that first left. Probably cost $30,000. It's never been used. I'll bet you it cost $100,000. I'll bet you it cost $100,000. It's got AC. It's got plumbing.
Contract was a 4-year contract for $9 million, according to Thomson Reuters.
So they're
and it was intended to protect the U.S. government from social engineering.
So it's cybersecurity, but it's reverse propaganda.
Why would the government not be able to protect itself?
Or why does it need to be protected? They told me that the Russians tried to influence our election. How so?
And Thomson Reuters Special Services was competitively selected to serve as the evaluator to test the defensive tools.
Russia have any impact on who you voted for in the last election?
None.
No, me either. I don't know how that happened. I want to ask
All
you,
these whiz kids working for the federal government, all these people working for the federal government, we can't figure out our own problems. We got to then spend more money to do it. Come on.
but I want to ask you one that I haven't figured out
And
yet.
why is the newspaper business in that business?
Why is it was a good one too. It really was.
Having a seizure.
No. I'm still upright. I'm still upright.
He's all right.
Oh, no. It was almost there. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
Carry on.
I'll try.
No, it was
I don't
good.
know where you were going.
You'll know. I'm going to ask you
All right.
why something is happening.
I do have this question though, because I can't recall a conflict anywhere where one of the two parties
That's what I was
involved.
going to ask you. Why is it? How is it that the U.S. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, is visiting with his
counterpoints, yeah.
counterpart in Russia to discuss a ceasefire and peace in the Ukraine-Russia conflict? How can you have those conversations?
And why did they have to go to Saudi Arabia to have the conversation?
Oh, they have better sushi. But how can you do that without involving Ukraine? I mean, you're talking about two sovereign nations, arguably, not even arguably,
One invaded by the other.
and one is our guy. I mean, we have supported Ukraine. I've never seen what appears to be a bigger statement of big brotherism than the United States saying, you just stay home.
We got
The
you.
big boys will take care of this one. It's the U.S. and Russia, and we'll tell you, Zelensky, what's going to happen with your sovereign nation. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I told Ash this morning, maybe Trump is trying to negotiate a full and total withdrawal. We've got some sanctions on you because you attacked them. We will remove those sanctions in exchange for a full and total withdrawal. You don't get to claim any of their lands. You don't get to claim any of it. Maybe anything short of that. And if I'm Ukraine, I'm like, why are you negotiating on my behalf? And now the arrogant American in me says, well, we're paying the bills. Hell, you're shooting our bullets. If we cut off the money, how are you going to negotiate then? But I have to think that maybe Trump is playing chess here. And
We
if he can
brought
negotiate
Egypt
that-
and Israel to the table at Camp David in the 70s. Give Jimmy
Right.
Carter credit for that one. That's the
Yeah.
only thing he did that was decent.
Yeah.
But we didn't negotiate that and tell Egypt to go fly a kite.
See, I agree with Torn Bells. That's what happens when you sign the checks. But the U.S.
We were signing the checks for Israel back then too.
But the United States doesn't have the capability of saying, yes, Mr. Putin, Ukraine will give up this region here that you want. They can't do that. So I find that very interesting.
Or is it to see if Russia's even willing to negotiate?
I don't know.
But
I
it
think
isn't. Yeah.
that it was, I have to believe, tell me your gut feeling. This has been thought out. There's a reason that, because it really looks like, it almost looks like the U.S. is bullying one of our allies.
There's
if
a
you will.
reason for it. I don't know what the reason is. It just seems weird. And I mean, the optics aren't good.
I agree. So unless
and
the
the rest-
result is unbelievable.
And
Unless
the
they
rest,
say,
yeah, and the rest of the world's mad. Trump said he was going to end this war within 24 hours.
remember though, that it was Joe Biden. It was Joe Biden, like Jumanji. It was Joe Biden who ceased drilling, did away with the Keystone Pipeline, these kinds of things, and drove the price of oil way up. And you know who made money off that?
Putin.
Russia. And Russia used that money to attack Ukraine.
Problem is, Russia's been making money. Even all the embargoes that we've had, they've been selling their oil to Iran and to China and to
Right.
North Korea, funded by China. I mean, it's
Torn Bells with a solid point. I'm sure it's all part of the plan, but and you know what? It's really not for me to know the plan. That's right. That's why you elect those people. Let them go do what they do. He knows things about Putin that nobody else knows, and we'll see what happens. By the way, something else that Ash and I were right about, Hamas this week announcing that it's going to give up some more hostages. Yeah, 2/3 of them are dead, but they're giving up 4 dead ones and 2 alive ones. I guess they're going to make the live ones carry the dead ones.
Bodies of children.
Terrible, man. It's terrible. I just had a Monty Python. Throw out your dead. It's not funny. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not a
HR says we don't need to know the starting point for negotiations.
It's not a dead
Or don't
cardinal.
we need to know the starting point for negotiations? It would be faster if Ukraine sat down at the same time, but we need each side needs to start somewhere.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But I got to think that maybe Rubio has said, hey, look, there's some sanctions against y'all. This is not going to end well. Putin just, all of Europe is now mobilizing and pledging money and saying, we don't need the U.S. We'll defend ourselves against Russia. And by the way,
Where have you been for the last 4 years, Russia
the last
or
$4
Europe?
trillion.
That's the problem. That's the problem with where we are in Europe.
Yes.
3 years of this, and they've just sat by twiddling their thumbs, going doo 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 doo.
letting
The US
us
will do
pay
it
all
Yep.
the bills. We're paying all the bills. But one thing I like about Putin is that Putin's going to stay his course regardless of public sentiment. Now, I'm not saying I agree with his course. I'm saying I respect his. He's just bad to the bone.
Michael Atkins at 361-894-4020 if you're listening. Give us why did the U.S. exclude Ukraine on this?
Right.
Because Tammy's right. You are kind of the guy
He
that
is
knows
the
what's
guy.
going on. You study this probably more than anybody else in Victoria.
No doubt.
Maybe the rest of the country.
No doubt. What do you do with with Hamas now? You got a ceasefire. It's very, very. It's lightly tethered.
Wow, and they were purely deflecting when they claimed that Israel was violating terms of that ceasefire because they knew they were going to have to turn over bodies.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to have to turn over bodies because they've been telling everybody all along that everybody's alive.
When you're on the run like rats 24 hours a day, you're not feeding, clothing, and taking care of a couple of hundred hostages. You're just not.
Especially the kids when they're crying. What are you going to do?
Kill them.
Probably.
That's what they did.
Because they're psychotic psychopaths in
No doubt
in
about
Hamas, and they don't care about anybody but themselves.
And I think the average American can't stoop to that level of depravity where they just say, it's not fair to say they're animals. I get that they're people, but on my empathy meter, there's somewhere between a 40 and a 50 megaton low-grade nuclear weapon. I mean, I could just eradicate that whole area and never look back. In Greenbow, Alabama. Forrest.
Today's the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima. It began on this day when
All they did was save the world.
invaded.
It's the reason you're not speaking German any more fluently than you already do.
True. 6,800 Americans were killed, 26,000 wounded in the battle for that island.
The battle saw 3 Marine divisions, roughly 70,000 men.
That's the entire population of Victoria, folks. Put
Take
that in
the-
perspective.
Take the 8-mile square volcanic island over 36 days of vicious combat in what remains the largest force of U.S. Marines ever deployed in a single battle. More than 21,000 Japanese fighters sworn to fight to the death were entrenched in concealed fortifications and miles of underground tunnels. Only 216 were taken prisoner. They killed the rest. That's what I remember hearing a speech once, and Patton said, your goal is not to die for your country. Your goal is to let some other, his quote, poor dumb bastard die for his country. The
Jeremy
American
Keeling-
soldier.
Jeremy Keeling says bullying our allies is not a good look.
I don't disagree.
I don't
and I don't know
disagree.
that Ukraine's really our ally. I know it's the enemy of our enemy. But yes, they're not in NATO, and they have no business in NATO. They're fighting Russia in a war. The whole
Ukraine-
point of NATO is to avoid a war with Russia.
Ukraine's kind of like that bird that picks all the stuff out of the crocodile's teeth. They really don't bring much to the relationship other than good dental health. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really wish he would avoid all bird metaphor. Good morning to you, tree huggers.
Well, on that note,
Top of the hour. Hope you guys have a great day. Hey, it is cold. If you're old, fat, or sick, stay indoors. Bye,
bye,
folks.
folks.